All right, hey everyone, this is Joe McNamee. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the ways that you can get funding for all different reasons. A few examples is you can get funding to invest in yourself, get your own education knocked out quickly by you borrowing the money and using it under these situations or for these situations where you can do some deals with some of the funding, you can pay for the training with some of the funding, there's a lot of different things, and so I'm not the expert on that, so I've got John McCauley on here with me. So John, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so John, what we're going to do is we're just going to keep this very simple. Everybody learns from me and realizes that everything that we do doesn't take more than a 6th grade education to do, and we're not real flashy or anything. We just really do this stuff, and so we cut out all that other garbage, that crap out there, and we just focus on trying to help people. So this is not not something that we offer to everyone. This is something that, if it makes sense to you and it fits you and it solves a problem for you, then by all means, you should definitely take up John on what he can do for you. So John, let's go ahead and get started here with some of the things that you can do for them. All right, so go ahead, John.
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, what we're able to do is take the strength of a client's personal credit and use that to establish them a business line of credit that's only going to report to their business. So like Joe was saying, where that kind of fits in with his business structure is that a client of his who's looking to get trained in real estate and is looking to start investing but doesn't necessarily have that startup capital can still come to Joe, and now I can come into the picture and help Joe out and provide the funding to not only get you started with your classes with Joe, but also to do maybe your first 1 or 2 deals with that kind of cushion of funding built in there along with your training. So it's really like a one-stop shop now.
And John, when you say 1 or 2, you and I talked a little bit about this a while back, and so they're not limited to that. They could use more of your funds to do more things, but we're just saying that just to get started, somebody brand new, you could consider it that way. You could go from that direction, 1 or 2 deals and kind of get your appetite whetted and everything paid for you by using this funding, and let the deals return those funds back. And now you've got the training, you've got some deals done, you made some money off of that, and you've returned the capital that you borrowed back to John's company. So is that right, John? There's no limit on.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. What's beautiful about our program, especially for this situation, is that our program is not real estate specific. Meaning we work with all businesses, not just real estate businesses. It just happens to be something that's a great tool for any real estate investor to have. It's almost a no-brainer. So basically what you would be doing is getting access, dependent upon the strength of your personal credit. That's what's going to determine how much we're actually able to do for you. So whatever realm of real estate you're jumping into, you may be able to do multiple deals in just one transaction with us. Now, maybe a case where you're doing higher end deals, and maybe you have to do multiple rounds of funding in order to get a cushion of your own, where you no longer have to take any type of other people's money, But if you do want to use us, say, we're typically in the range of about $20,000 to about $250,000.
Yeah.
So depending on the size of your deals, you may be able to do multiple.
Yeah, that's awesome because in a different economy, it was very common for people to go after fast money, and fast money could have been, 4 credit cards. I've seen many people, I've never had to do that myself, but I've seen many people get started in a different economy. They had 4 different credit cards, maybe $25,000 limit on each, and so they used those, $100,000 off of 4 cards, and they had 30 days before they had any interest to pay. You're offering them, what is it? I'm sorry, it was 6 months to maybe a year.
6 months minimum. What we've been seeing a lot with the lenders, though, is 12 plus months.
Wow.
So we've been getting a lot of approvals that are coming with 13 months interest free.
Oh man, because I mean, honest to God, like I said, in a different economy, 30 days, it was easy to grab it, fix it, or whatever you wanted to do to it and turn it, or just grab it and flip it immediately, but not just take it over like my, ways that we buy it is a lot of times we buy it for just $10, but not everyone will sell it to us like that. So if we're able to, go ahead and cash out someone at a much cheaper price, and then we already have the buyer who's paid us up front to get started on that house, and, we've got a 6 months to a year to kind of get that whole thing smoothed out. That's awesome compared to what we used to do, or some people used to do with credit cards. So
yeah, it really does fit in perfect with your structure. It fits in well with a lot of other real estate strategies, but yours in particular.
Well, none of those other guys. None of those other guys count because they're just pretend. I'm the only the real. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding on that one. But yeah. So what I look at is I look at you could use John's funding for your training costs and your startup fee. Some people don't have. They work hard. They're able to commit some time. They're not people that sit on their thumbs, but they just don't have enough cash to buy the training to get going. And so this is a way of doing that. If you were a person going in the world of, let's just say going to college, and you got some sort of a funding approval, someone's paying that bill for you to take some classes or a percentage of it for you. Well, John's offering that he can pay all of your tuition costs, because our tuition is less than the number that he said. He said $20,000 to $250,000, and you don't have to pay anywhere near that much to get started with us. And then the startup that I'm referring to here is you might have to buy a few things, some business cards, some signs, maybe get somebody else to build a website for you if you don't want to go down the road of trying to build it yourself, and a couple of little things like that. It's not expensive to get started in this business, and I've had a lot of students who haven't spent anything in startup costs, and they've done a couple of deals, and then they let the deals pay for it for them. But the economy's starting to shift, real estate's starting to turn a little bit, so this is a way to keep up with that and be able to still accomplish what you're trying to do and let the deal pay for it after you've already got the training in place.
Right.
So there's the no collateral, John. You want to talk some more about that one?
Yeah, so that's pretty cut and dry. What we do is credit-based lending. That's what I would categorize it as, meaning typically with credit-based lending, you're not going to have to put up any collateral or prove any financials, which I'm sure I'm jumping the gun on that. That's probably a whole nother slide, but no collateral, meaning you're not going to have to leverage any of your assets in order to get the funding. So you're not going to have to put up any property or take liens out on anything that you own. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what no collateral means.
Okay, so let's go on to the next slide here, John. Okay, so this is one that I put in. So I want everybody to understand something. You are signing personally that you're borrowing this money, but you're not doing what's called a personal guarantee. In the real estate world, when we put a lien, when we allow a lien to go against a property, so let's say we borrow money from, a local bank, and we're borrowing that money from a local bank to buy 123 Pine Street. The bank's going to require us to sign what's called a personal guarantee, and that personal guarantee means that if they have to foreclose and they take back 123 Pine Street from us, and let's say that we owed them $150,000 and the bank was only able to get $100,000 for it, then they could put a lien on other properties that we have for the other $50,000. That's what the personal guarantee gives them the right to do. They could put it against our car, they could put it against our personal home, other properties that we own. So, John, would you talk about what when a person's signing, they're doing a personal signature against us, and they're guaranteeing that they own the money back. But would you kind of elaborate that a little bit so that there's no misunderstanding about that?
Sure. So as I said in the beginning, basically what it means is because it's credit-based lending, we're using the strength of your personal credit to get you the business lines that only report to the business. Yes, this is only going to report to your business, but you are personally signing for this. So it won't report to your personal credit. The only time it will ever report to your personal credit is if you completely default. At that time, your personal credit will obviously take a hit because you defaulted on credit that was given to you under your Social Security number. But any reporting, positive and negative, will only report to the business.
Gotcha.
The only time, again, the only time it will affect your personal credit is if you completely default.
Sure, but it's collateral free no matter what, and that's what I like about it. Also, there's no personal guarantee from that perspective. Doesn't attach to collateral. Okay, all right. That one's yours there, John.
This one here, like I said on there, it's a pretty obvious one. We tend to offer 0% interest for a minimum of 6 months. And it could go above and beyond 12 months. We also have ways of extending that after you've gotten it. So maybe you get 6 months. We have ways to potentially extend it to 12.
Okay.
So minimum 6 months, 0% interest, and that's after you've received the funding. So
okay. Down here where it says 1 to 3% of the amount, in a typical monthly payment, I've got an example that's coming up way further down in the slideshow here. So we're going to use that example to kind of zero in on that, because that's important for people to understand that. It's kind of a hefty payment to have to make, but let's wait until we get to the example to talk about that a little bit more. So let's move on. So, John's talking about he's giving up 6 months at a minimum interest-free. So you're borrowing the money, you're not paying any interest on it for 6 months. In 6 months, if you haven't been able to move that property in some way, shape, or form that has made it possible for you to pay for your training, to pay for that deal, to pay for your startup costs, something's seriously wrong. You didn't pay attention to the training if it takes you 6 months to do that. Now, I will say, and these numbers are, I don't know you from Adam. I don't know what you're able to do. I know what happens for me. So I'm speaking from my experience, and I'm speaking from the experience of new students that I deal with. Not every one of them. Some people just sit on their thumbs. Some people knock it out of the park, and then everything in between. But typically, it should be fairly simple for a person who gets the training, understands what's going on, gets control of a property, and then within 6 to 12 weeks, you should have something pretty solid happening with finance, with money coming towards you to cover any kind of expenses you might have down the road with money that you borrowed. John, you don't charge a loan origination fee on the front end of this, do you?
No, we do not. So what we do, we're a success-based company, and what that means is we charge no upfront fees. What we do is, from start to finish, our typical process would be we interact with the client at first. We get a good idea of what they're looking for the capital for. In this case, it's obvious. And then what we do is pre-qualification, which would be the client. We get a hold of the client's credit report. We have the client send it over, and we have the client fill out a pre-qualification form, just giving us a little snapshot into the business.
John, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to knock you off your track here, but when you're saying the credit report, is it it's just a business credit report, or is it the personal credit report as well?
We want them to pull their personal credit report.
Okay.
So we'll have the client go to an easy site like Credit Check Total or Experian.com, pull their tri-merge credit report and send it over. What I'll be able to do with that is I'll be able to give them back a funding estimate, letting them know, hi, so-and-so, here's what I looked at on your credit report, and here's how I made my decision, and here's what we're able to do for you. Once they have that, they'd fill out the full application. We'd get that back. We'd submit it for funding. We'd get them the funding, and then when the client has the funding in their possession, we then charge our one-time success fee of 10% of the total amount funded.
Okay, so after they have the funding in their hands, then they can make that payment straight out of their loan.
Correct. They can use the funding we raised for them to turn around and make that payment, and then the funding is theirs to service.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes it a whole lot easier.
Plus, like we spoke about, it's at 0% interest. So.
Okay. All right. So we're into the proven financials. You don't have to worry about that.
Right. So that's another beautiful point of our program is there's no proven financials. And what this means is we simply offer a no-doc program. No-doc programs mean that you do not have to prove any of your financials, no bank statements, no tax returns, nothing like that. So we don't really care how much your business makes. We don't care how much you personally make. It's really just it's really just credit-based lending. So the stronger your credit, the more we're able to get for you.
So and we got to talk about that a little bit more too, because some people are thinking, but my credit sucks right now, and we got a solution for that too. But how long? Let me just get this out of the way because it keeps tormenting me in my mind here. From the start of somebody saying, "Hey, I want to borrow $50,000 from you," and let's just say that they have all the right numbers that you're looking for, everything's fine. How long from the time that they say, "John, yes, I want to borrow $50,000," to the day that the check arrives to them or the funding is wired to them, or what? How long does that take, typically?
Yeah, great question. So it's hard to say from the point of initial contact because a lot of that time is in the client's hands. So it really depends on how long the client takes to get the full application back to me.
Okay.
The pre-qualification stage is really quick. They send me their credit report. I'm going to get them back within probably 2 to 3 hours. I'll get them back a funding estimate. Then the ball is in the client's court. So depending on how long it takes them to get the full application back to me, that will determine how quickly the whole process goes. So once I have the full application and I have everything I need to start processing, 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days for the funding to be in their hands from the date of them finishing their full application.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, on the full application, I know we can't, guess what in each person is how long they're going to take to do this and what hoops they have to jump through to finish up this application. But what in the past, what have you typically seen it take a person to get all the things that's in that full application process done and over with to get back to you? What are you normally seeing it take them to do that?
That's another beautiful point about our process is that it's only a 2-page application.
Okay, I'm visualizing this 6 inches thick of all this crap they're going to fill out. Okay, good deal.
No. So the average business owner probably should only take them about 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's very general information. The first page is going to be business information. So just general information. Where's your business located? What's your EIN number? Stuff like that. General information. Second page is going to be your personal information, which I hope we all know our personal information.
Sure.
And then there is 3 other pages, but they're simply signature pages. So you'd read them and sign them.
Okay.
And then the only 2 documents we do need in addition to the full application is a copy of your IRS SS4 letter, which we have an example of in our application, so it makes it easier to find it if you don't have it on hand, and then a copy of your articles of incorporation. That's it.
Okay. All right.
Very easy. It typically takes the average client either half a day or a day to get it back to us just because they got to find time to fill it out. So not a strenuous process by any means.
Right. I got you. For me, I put this slide in here. I wanted to actually hit this point, drive it home. You can borrow money at a cheaper rate, and we understand that through going through like a small business association type loan, or even a maybe borrowing against equity you have in a property, or different types of things. Maybe you're working with a credit union and you're borrowing money there to do something, or some of you may even decide to go down the road of a home equity line of credit or something like that, and then use part of it for this. And we understand that. But typically, with a traditional lender, when you start going down that road, you get wrapped around the axle. If you're going through, like a business loan, they're going to require business plans, executive summary, all kinds of different things that you're going to have to learn how to figure out, fill out, and come up with like this whole portfolio on you and stuff. So I've seen that take months. I've seen it take years for some people. So I just wanted to point that out. Yes, it is cheaper to go that way if you get lucky enough to get approved for it. So this is something that John is offering up that's a whole lot easier process. So
very, very user friendly.
Okay, so here you've said this a couple times already, that it doesn't get reported to their personal credit. So you want to talk about that anymore, or have you already beaten that one to death?
Yeah, no, I'll talk about it because I want to talk about why this is advantageous to you.
Okay.
And what it really comes down to, and a lot of people are not very educated when it comes to their personal credit. But a little bit about personal credit. The main things that affect your personal credit are inquiries and utilization. So anytime, for one, you want to avoid getting an excess amount of inquiries in a 12-month period, because that's going to affect your scores. That's one. For two, you want to protect your utilization, because anytime you go above 30% utilized, it affects your score typically around 50 points. You'll see a 50-point drop. Anytime you go above 60% utilized, you're typically looking at about a 100-point drop. And anything above that, you're going to drop drastically. So when you're thinking about, okay, I have great credit, my credit score is at 750, and then you're using your credit cards and you're getting super utilized, and then all of a sudden you're at a 600, that's a drastic change. You just went from having great credit to having, the nation's average credit, which 600, it's hard to qualify for anything. You can barely qualify for a mortgage. So the beauty of our program is that because it only reports to the business, it's a way to keep your personal utilization intact, because you can run up your business utilization as much as you want, and it won't affect your personal credit. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
So a big mistake I see a lot of real estate, I'll call them newbies, doing is they'll live off of personal credit cards. They'll try to real estate invest with personal credit cards, and they'll rack up their utilization, and their scores will drop 100, 200 points.
Yeah, I'll tell you the thing that I've seen. My competition out there that teaches real estate investing, they'll convince people to take over properties, and that magically, tens of thousands of dollars are going to magically fall out of the ceiling into their lap because they pushed a couple of buttons on their computer. And it's just not the case. And so what happens is these people go to these seminars, these free to get in but not free to get out of seminars, and they learn some of this stuff, and then they go back home and they go quit their job, and then they try to live off their credit cards until they get a deal that is paying them. And a lot of them crash and burn. They just completely sink themselves. And so that is not what I suggest to do. So living off credit cards or using credit cards to buy real estate, I talked about that was something that was in the past, and people could flip the houses within 30 days. And that was the only reason I was saying that is so that you could utilize that thought process and realize that if John is able to give you 6 months to a year, and he said even maybe longer than that of interest free, then that's pretty awesome with only having to pay that 10% out of the loan money. So just don't get yourself in trouble that way is all we're saying here. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Now, from a credit perspective, I mean, you literally can completely disassociate yourself from your personal credit versus your business credit. And a lot of people don't realize that. They don't realize that they don't have to intermix with each other. And the stronger you make your business credit, the less you would even need to bring your personal credit into this. Is that the way you see it also, John?
Correct, yeah. A lot of people don't see, I guess a lot of people don't really understand that building your business credit is something that every business owner should do, and they should do it in the beginning stages of their business, just because it becomes an asset at that point.
That's right.
The stronger your business credit is, the more likely you are to be able to solicit funds should you ever need to. And then you can, like you said, disassociate yourself from your personal credit, because now your business is acting as its own entity. It's got cash flow, it's got credit worthiness, and it's got almost its own little reputation where now you can bring that to lenders rather than bringing yourself. Go ahead.
I like the way you said that. It's got its own reputation. That's a great. I'm going to use that in the future. You don't have any kind of a copyright protection or anything on that one, do you?
No, but now I'm going to race to get one.
Okay. All right. So there's the requirement now. So John, you want to talk about that, and then we'll talk about some of the things that they can do to accomplish this if they don't have that.
Sure. So this here is base criteria. This is about as simple as it gets. If you've ever tried to get funding out there in the marketplace, I don't think you've ever found something this simple. It's real cut and dry. What we're looking for in a client is that they have a 700 above FICO score in all three bureaus, meaning, and if you don't know, not everybody monitors their credit. So if you don't know, I suggest subscribing to a site like Credit Check Total or like Experian.com and pull your tri-merge report and just kind of see where you are. And that'll give you a good snapshot of where your credit is and what you would need to do to get above 700 if you're not already there. But what we do need is a 700 above FICO score in all three bureaus. And then, like it says, number 2 is the business owner must have a legal entity. So that's pretty cut and dry. You got to have something registered with the state, some form of incorporation, LLC, S Corp, or C Corp.
Which is something you should be doing anyway if you're going to go in business for yourself.
Every real estate investor should, solely for tax purposes, you should have some form of incorporation.
Now, one of the things that, again, we had talked a while back on this, but one of the things you were saying is you're perfectly fine if they bring in a cosigner that has all this. If they don't have those requirements, you're okay with a cosigner coming in. Is that right?
Correct. So we can utilize a cosigner, and this person does not necessarily have to be a part of the business. This can be, a family member, a friend, whatever the case may be. When we use a cosigner, what we have, the only thing that changes in the process is that you sign one additional paper, which will be the corporate resolution, and all that's stating is that you, the business owner, are allowing so-and-so to solicit funds on behalf of your business.
Okay, well, that's not too difficult.
Very easy.
So I wanted to go back to something else you said a minute ago, and then I want to hit back on that co-signing thing again. When you're talking about the tri-merge, you're talking about Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Is that right?
Correct. The three bureaus.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that way that everybody who doesn't understand that now they got that. So you're looking for all three of them to be at 700 plus, because typically, you'll have somebody 680, 690, and then 710 or something like that. So what John's saying is all three of them need to be 700 plus on that.
Correct. And if you have a situation like that, if you look at your credit and you have a situation like that, I would not get discouraged. What I would do is still reach out to either Joe or myself. And what I'll do is I'll still look at your credit report, and I'll be able to tell you exactly what's holding you back. Because typically if you have one score above 700 and the other two are borderline, typically it's usually either a utilization issue or a inquiry issue, both of which can be resolved. Obviously, utilization, you'll just have to pay something down. And with inquiries, you can get those inquiries removed.
Right.
Especially, what a lot of people don't realize is if you go to a responsible car dealer, right, a big name car dealership, they're going to run your credit once because they typically have one institution that lends to their clients, and if that institution can't do it, then they move on, that's it. When you go to these subprime type of auto dealerships, they will run your credit probably 5 to 10 times.
Yeah, they have multiple different underwriters that they're looking for one that'll approve it.
Correct. They're looking for anything that catches. So what happens there is that's 5 to 10 inquiries. And the beauty of how it's set up now, and it didn't used to be like this, but what you can do now is anything that you didn't get approved for, you can get all those inquiries removed. So if you have a bunch of unnecessary inquiries, those are easily removed. And if that's the one thing holding you back from getting funding, I can certainly point you in that direction and help you to get those taken off, and then you can pursue what you need to pursue.
And then to add to that, we have connections that do credit repair legally. They can remove a lot of that negative stuff, and they do it legally. They perform in all 50 states, and they perform in I think it's either 17 or 19 other countries as well. And so there's help out there with that to get that straight, so that you can get your score bumped up to where it needs to be. And just doing the house cleaning on your credit is important anyhow. All right.
Yes. Joe, one thing I wanted to add too, with regards to the cosigner, keep in mind, a lot of people think cosigner and they automatically think, oh, that's not something I want to do. It's not a burden I want to put on someone. Keep in mind, what makes it a lot easier to get a cosigner with our program is that it's only reporting to the business.
That's right.
It will not affect the cosigner's personal credit unless you default.
Oh, I like that too. I didn't think about that before. I'm glad you brought that up.
So it's a little less of a burden.
Sure. So let's say Bob has the business and he needs Harry to help him by being a cosigner. Bob's business, let's say, is B1 real estate. And so Bob's B1 real estate credit, if something goes wrong, is being pinged, but Harry, the cosigner's credit, is not being pinged. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Wow, that's awesome right there. Okay. It's not really all that hard. Those of you out there wondering, well, I don't know anybody, I don't this, that, and the other, and all that kind of stuff. It's not all that hard to find somebody who wants to share a little bit in the deals that you'll be doing. So
right.
You have to think about who's bringing what to the table. So one person's bringing the credit to the table, another person's bringing the knowledge to the table, and then another person's bringing the willingness to get that knowledge and implement that knowledge. So I'm bringing the information to the table on here's what you can do and here's how to do it. Your cosigner is bringing the credit to the table, and then you're bringing to the table that you're willing to actually engage in doing this business, doing this as a business. And so when you put everyone together, there's value in each thing that everyone's providing. So you can share back with your cosigner a piece of the deal, a piece of the percentage. Don't give them a percentage of the entire deal. Give them a percentage of the profit. That way you're not going in the red at all on it. So, hey, John, let's play with a couple of different examples just so people can kind of see what this could do. So I just got some hypothetical numbers here on if they were to go down the road of getting a fixer-upper. And I don't teach you to go out and buy fixer-uppers and fix them up and turn around and resell them. I've done tons and tons of those types of deals in a different economy. Well, right now there's starting to be a shift. Everyone always hears from me that real estate is a moving target. So we adjust to where that target is moving to. And I will tell you right now that there's becoming a surplus of deals that you can either take over for more money and spend just $10 on them, but not everybody will agree to do that, or you can offer them less money and buy it, and then if you're buying it for less money, it might need some fixing up, it might not need, or you might need to do the fixing up or not need to. So this is just some examples. These are not, you can't hold us to any of these numbers to exact, because what they are right this minute might be different tonight. So that's our disclaimer there. We are not saying that these are exact numbers at all for anything that you would do with John's company, but just to give you an idea so that you can see it in black and white what an example would be. So let's talk about this first one to the left here. You could borrow 60 grand from John. You could use 15,000 for training if you wanted to go down the road of My Force of Success. Obviously, I have much cheaper programs out there also, but if you wanted to get the full-blown, the full Monty on this, so you could get that program, and then right there, let's say that you bought a fixer-upper at 35,000, and then you took 10 grand and put it in repairs. So you've got some training money, you've got some, the purchase of the property, you got some repair money sitting there, and you sold it for $87,900. Now that's not unrealistic numbers there at all. You're not making a killing off of it, but you just got all of your training paid for, you got that deal paid for, you got a whole bunch of buyers on your list for future deals, and you got a little bit of experience. So now everything's been paid for, and you made a little bit. You got some money that you got to pay back to John in addition to the 60,000. So it'll be, John, you said 10%, so that'd be 6 grand they'd have to give you back on that. Is that right?
Correct, on that particular deal, yes.
Okay, so 35, so that's 45, 55, so 60,000. So you'd actually be paying back 66,000, and you made 87,900 off of very simple. I can do deals like that all day long, but actually the 87,900 is unrealistic. In my world, that's going to be about 110,000. So there's a lot of them sitting around right now. So just a matter of going and actually borrowing the money. Now, when you come into my world of training, you're paying for some training, and you're learning how to have the buyer first before you commit funds to that deal. Hey, John, that's a question I need to ask you before I jump to the other side of this.
I was going to chime in on that too, and it's not my area. I don't directly benefit from anything that you do for your clients, but I was going to chime in and say that anything that people do not pay for, they generally don't value as much as something that they pay for.
That's right.
So a lot of people would look at a price tag for any type of training or schooling or anything and get discouraged by it. But if you look back at some of the, or if you look currently at some of the best real estate investors in the country, most of them have spent probably $50,000 to $100,000 on training for themselves personally.
Sure.
To be able to, because it's a market that you have to exploit, and if you don't know how to exploit that, then you better team up with somebody who does.
That's right.
And that may cost you. So
the question I had for you, John, it's actually going to go way back in our discussion. So let's say that they go ahead and they go through the process. They've got 60 grand available money for them. Do they have to use all 60 of that, or can they just utilize maybe they got approved for 60 and they wanted to use 15 now and then use some more of it maybe 2 months from now? Can they do that, or do they need to use
Absolutely.
all 60 right then? Oh, okay. So
no,
they wouldn't.
No.
So they wouldn't be paying for the money that they haven't used yet.
No, they'd be paying for what is currently being utilized. So
okay.
If they got $100,000. So your payment is based on the balance. So if you got if we got you $100,000, say you were only using $10,000, you'd be paying monthly between 1% to 3% of the $10,000 that you're using.
Yeah. So we're going to go over on the second side here and show what that looks like. Okay. So let's go into borrowing 50 grand on the same exact house. So 50 grand you borrowed, 15,000 for the top of the line Force Your Success training, and then the purchase price of the house is 35. The end buyer does the repairs. They buy all the material and do the work, and that happens all the time. Matter of fact, I was just at a house this morning where that's going on with one of my end buyers, where they pay for everything, and they're still just in a lease purchase with me. The sale price is $87,900, but you're doing it where you're holding the financing, or they're doing it through a lease purchase. So they're going to buy it for $87,900 from you. They're going to give you $8 grand down. Maybe you're looking for $15 grand down before you convert the deed. So you got $8,000 in your pocket and a monthly payment of $1,250. As a matter of fact, that's almost exactly what the deal is that I was at this morning. And this is just a fluke here. It had nothing to do with this slide. This slide was made days ago, but that house, I think they pay me $1,200 a month is what they pay me, and my outgoing on it is I think it's like $600 going out. So my cash flow is $600 a month. Now, in this example, down the road, when you do have to start paying interest, your monthly payment, John, am I right? They're not going to. No, I'm not right on that. When do they start making that? And we use 2% as an example. When do they make that payment to you?
So you're going to pay. You're not going to be paying us. You're going to be paying the institution.
Sure.
But you're going to be paying principal only during that 0% phase. So
Okay.
say you get 0% for 6 months, you'll be paying 6 months principal only. So principal only will be between 1 to 3%.
Okay, and we use 2%, and we use 2% of that example right there.
Okay, yeah. So at that example, 2%, that's 100% correct. That's it. This example is no interest. Now, when the interest kicks in, you'll be paying the monthly payment plus the interest.
Right. Now, which means then it becomes expensive money to borrow, and that's why we're saying, you got 6 months to 12 months to do something different with this deal. So the idea is to get the end buyer qualified to be able to borrow enough money, not the $87,900, but enough money to pay John off, to pay off, John's institution, or the institution that John connected you with. So you're just trying to get the 50. In that case, it would be $55,000 that you're trying to pay back. And so once you've paid that back, then your new monthly payment will be whatever it costs on that 50. So if you borrow the 55, pay them off, then you've got still the you'd have $32,900 that you'd be taking back a second mortgage on and receive monthly payments from that. Plus you got the $8 grand you put in your pocket. Plus you had the $250 cash flow every month until you got that done, provided you get it done before the interest kicks in, where you have to start paying the interest as well. Does that make sense? And John, did I say everything right with what your people can do?
I think you got it. Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the next slide here. So that first slide was 2 different examples, 2 different ways that you could go after. Now, there's a million different ways that you could go after properties. It could be used on pretty houses and all that kind of stuff, but I just used a simple little fixer-upper, and I used cheap numbers. The numbers are the same. The techniques are the same. If a cheap fixer-upper is $350,000 in your area, or $35,000 in your area, or $3.5 million in your area, everything is still the same. All the techniques are the same. I just don't know if you can borrow that much money to cash the deal out, but you can do a piece of the deal, whatever it takes for you to make a profit off of it and get your training paid for. So in this second example, you could buy the training and you could spend a lot of money. That's why I got the words there, heavy marketing for buyers and sellers. There's no reason to spend $5,000 on marketing when you're first getting started, but you're not going to do a lot of deals in the beginning. You're going to do a few. But in this case, if you wanted to get started and really go gung-ho on this, you could have $5 grand sitting there for your startup costs to attract a lot of buyers and sellers to you if you spent that kind of money to attract them. Now, me personally, I've been doing this a long time, so I don't need to spend that kind of money on marketing. I spend around $500 a year on marketing, and then there's a lot of years where I spend nothing. But if you were to average it out, I spend about $500 per year. So it just gives you an idea that you could just give yourself a major boost by borrowing 20 grand, and then you can do the numbers yourself on that and see how the math works out. All right, and so if you did just a simple little startup, you know, I do want you to get signs. I want you to get business cards. I want you to get some flyers going. I want you to get your website up, you know, a couple things like that. And so startup costs, you could spend $1,000, but you don't have to. You don't have to spend anything but maybe a couple $100 on doing some of that to get yourself going, and then the 15 grand on some training. And if you went the full Monty again and went after the Force Your Success program, which is your, you know, the cream of the crop that I offer. There's, like I said, there's other training that I have that's a lot cheaper, but it's nowhere near the value of what the Force Your Success training does. So that just gives you an idea of how you could utilize what John is offering through me. And so, John, you want to do a quick recap on the benefits and the costs? Okay, I think we just lost John.
Sorry about that. I had
okay, there he's back. Okay, oh, you had yourself. Okay, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Just in recapping everything that we kind of talked about, I'll go from basically start to finish. So, like I said, we're a credit-based lender. What we're able to do is take the strength of the client's personal credit, use it to obtain them business lines of credit that only report to the business. Our only two real criteria, 700 and above FICO score, and you must have a legal entity. No proven financials, no collateral, and 0% interest for 6 to 12 months. Now, the idea that Joe and I had is that this is a match made in heaven, if you will, where you get a chance to not only get funding to be able to partake in his educational courses, but you'll also have enough funding left over to be able to jump into your first couple deals. So I think it's a perfect match for both of us. I think it's a great service for you guys as the clients, and I look forward to hearing from some of you guys.
Okay. All right, John, so you already did the eligibility thing here, but right here, this is John's website. If you want to connect with John directly, I'm not worried about it. If you want to connect directly to John, it doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. I just want you all to be successful. That's what my main interest is. It always has been. And then there's my website also. So we're gonna put up some phone numbers. John, would you like to have your phone number put on there as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll put up some phone numbers here at the end of this so that you can give us a call if you'd like to give us a call here at Absolute Investment Training Company. Again, I'm Joe McNamee, and John McCauley, his number will be up here as well. And so then you can pick up the phone and call him. If he doesn't answer, he's busy, so just understand that. Just leave a message. He will definitely get back with you.
One of our guys will certainly pick up, and if somebody doesn't get to you, we'll get to you within the business day. So we're pretty on the ball with that.
All right. So, John, I guess that's it. I think that this went really smooth. I think we made it clear. You know, we're not trying to hide anything from you. We understand that if you don't get on it and stay solid with your real estate deal, this can turn into some expensive money, but it's very easy to get at. And if you focus on what I teach you to do, it shouldn't be an issue as long as you do a real estate deal, a simple little real estate deal to pay it back off and be done and over with it. But you could do this over and over and over again. Once they're approved, John, do they have to go through the whole cycle again to, like, let's say it's a couple of weeks later and they want to borrow money from you, or a couple of months later? What do they have to do then? Is it the same process, or?
No, they can keep utilizing the same funds. Pay it back, use it again. Pay it back, use it again.
Okay, so So let's say that you approved, Courtney for $150,000, and then she uses the 150, and then she pays it back. Does she have the 150 sitting there that she can just turn right around and say, "Hey, John, let's do it again"?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow, that's really cool too. That makes it a lot easier. So, back in the day, I'm showing my age again, but back in the day, I used to have available credit to use at banks where it was typically between 300 and 600,000, and it was typically somewhere between 2 and 4 deals. So I had multiple banks where I had that set up, so I could go and pick up 300,000 here, 600 there, 400 there, and as long as I'm doing no more than the 2 to 4 deals or the cap that they had on the dollar figure, there was nothing no hoops I had to jump through. Within hours, the funds were available, and this is almost that same thing coming back. So that's pretty cool. All right, guys. John, do you have any final words that you wanted to put out there to them?
No, I appreciate the time, and I do look forward to getting a chance to speak to some of your clients. And anytime you guys call in or shoot email or hop on our website, just make sure to reference Joe, and then we'll make sure to expedite everything for you and see what we can do about helping you out.
Okay. All right. Well, John, I really appreciate it, and I know that everybody listening has, this may not be for everyone, but the ones that it is for, this is a godsend for them. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Y'all take care now.
Absolutely, Joe.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.